Welcome back to Face to Faces. And today, Mike Stopforth is my guest, digital and transformation specialist. And really, when I'm in trouble, you can see I've got a few months on him. When I'm in trouble, he's the first guy I call. And so, Mike, welcome to Face to Faces.
Oh, Stu, it's always good to chat to you, but even better to chat to you in this format. So yeah, nice to see your face.
Yeah, well, seeing and not having to buy me a drink.
Yeah, the convenience of not having to go through a round, yeah.
So I mentioned digital transformation. I think that those words mean so many different things to different people. I think a lot of people are just interpreting it the way they think, maybe particularly in marketing. So you tell me about digital transformation. What is it? Why is it important? What does it really mean? And what do we know about it?
Yeah, so I mean, there are a lot of questions in that, Stu, and I think my obsession with finding out what digital transformation actually is rooted in a desire, I guess, to strip away some of the hype and the buzz around this term. I worry when the people that are most incentivized to create hype and confusion around a topic are those that publish the most content around it. So, when I think about digital transformation, I immediately look for metaphors or analogies. And, if we look at nature and the world around us, which I think has had a moment to recover over the last couple of months, we have a theory that describes how animals respond to change, right? We call it evolution. It's something that we learn at school and we're all very familiar with. And like animals, the businesses that we run and work in are organisms. They are also subjected to change. And they are also forced to respond. And those that don't respond well go extinct. The thing that's really interesting to understand is, first of all, what is it about organizations that respond well that enables them to do so? And second of all, when that change is completely unprecedented and dramatic and unexpected, there are some organizations that seem to respond in a way that completely belies their circumstances. Some organizations that you would expect would do very poorly or would be completely decimated by change that somehow respond in a really powerful and really sustainable way. I'm really interested in that because I think that response, that set of values, that type of leadership, that type of culture is what we actually mean when we say digital transformation. I think digital transformation is our ability to respond as an organization to change, our propensity to adapt. But specifically, when we're talking about change that is either imposed due to shifts in technological advancements or changes that have something to do with the way we use technology in our business. And of course, some of those are related, right? But that's what I think we mean by digital transformation. And if that's what we mean, then I'll give you a second. There are also other things that fit into that description that I think are also methods that we can use to respond or adapt to change that we probably need to give more suitable names. And that's the quest that I'm on at the moment. That's my mission in life.
So it's not just about my ability to learn how Zoom works. So that has nothing to do with age or how tech savvy we are. It really is a much bigger mindset. So what's happening in businesses? Are some of them just assuming the change is got to happen and taking it on board? And are some just throwing up their hands and saying, that's it, that's the end of the road?
Yeah, so I think the response of organizations is almost always the response of their leadership. Right? So leadership often governs, or I would argue predominantly governs, the way we respond and our ability to respond. And I think that there are two things that greatly impact how leaders think about their organization's response to change. And the more honest they can be about these questions, the better the response. I think that there are two. The first question is, how disruptible is my organization right now? What is it about my organization that makes it susceptible to change, right? And I think what I'm learning, and certainly what we're learning from the research that we're doing, is that our propensity to change has got less to do with what we have or what we do as a business and more to do with who we are. the disruptability of an organization has got more to do with how power works in the business, how information flows, how collaborative we are, how decision making and accountability works. Those things are more important when it comes to our ability to change than what software we use, or how new our laptops are, or whether we use Zoom or Microsoft Teams for calls. Those things are enablers. They aren't in and of themselves strategic imperatives. The second question I think that leaders need to think about, and this is more important even than the first one, is what is my timeline for value creation? Sounds a bit weird, but what is my expected return on investment? If I'm going to invest in changing my organization, when am I hoping to see a response? And most people, and this is where I think digital transformation goes so wrong in so many organizations, the people with the most power to affect change, the most influential people in the organization, are often also those with the shortest timelines, right? So I only have another 2 or 3 years left in this business, and I want to maximize shareholder value in that time, and that also serves my best interest. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. I completely support and understand that motivation and incentive. But if you're trying to build an organization that is going to be resilient past your tenure as a leader into the next, let's say, 5 or 10 years, but you're only measuring for the next 1 or 2, you can immediately see how that creates a dichotomy of priority. And that's where a lot of this goes wrong. Digital transformation doesn't work in projects or initiatives. That's why Forbes reports that over 70% of those projects or initiatives are failing. It works when it's a commitment to a whole new way of thinking about creating value, a whole new way of positioning the organization for adaptability and resilience.
So maybe the good leaders today are those who look around the organization and say, you know what, we've got to stop this leadership, from the top down. We need to flatten that out a bit. I mean, we found in our tiny organization by saying, who's got an idea? Who thinks, I don't care where the idea comes from. I really don't. I think there's a lot of ego in a lot of those bigger organizations. And the guy thinks, I'm the guy with the handmade suit. The reality is the guy with the handmade suit often isn't the guy who comes up with, do you know that if we reorganize our parking with our customers first, so is it more about the leadership being able, not just willing, able to change their thinking and say, okay, come on, guys, let's get around a virtual table?
Well, that's certainly some of it, Stu. I don't think it's all of it. But this is what I meant when I said how disruptable is the organization. You can have a business that has legacies worth of history and precedent in a very industrial age sector, let's say manufacturing or mining, that is incredibly adaptable to shifts and changes because of how they think about change or how accountability works in the business. Or, I think we give hierarchies a really bad rap. Hierarchies aren't bad. They're only bad if they relate to power. In other words, how people blame the lower echelons of the organization. But if hierarchies relate to accountability, if the person at the top is the most accountable person in the business, that can have a profound impact on the way the organization is not just perceived by customers and by the market, but by its employees, by the people who are expected to deliver its value to the market. The second thing I think that's really critical about what you said is that there are organizations that are relatively new, that have been born in the internet era, if you like, that are considered financial unicorns, that have demonstrated an inability to change or adapt. Again, not because of their technological proficiency. I mean, these are organizations that we don't expect to have a chief digital officer or a digital strategy, or they just are inherently digital in everything they do and say and deliver. But they haven't been able to adapt to change also because their leadership doesn't reflect the kinds of values or priorities that we've now come to realize and understand are necessary if you want to build sustainable value over the medium to long term.
Okay. our time is almost up. I'm gonna really put you on the spot.
Sure.
Okay, so now you are the head of business in South Africa. You're the head of business in the world. What are the 3 things you're going to tell every business leader and every company that they need to do starting tomorrow? So 3 key things. Let's maybe pitch it at the leaders, because then it filters down. What are the 3 key things you're going to tell them tomorrow? You need to do A, B, and C. What are they?
So I'm going to answer terribly here, Stu.
Okay.
The answer is going to be, it depends, right? And it does, because I think that it's completely justifiable for leaders who want to create value in the short term and want to maximize shareholder value to focus on certain types of initiatives. And I call those digital innovation initiatives or digitalization initiatives. And the model that we've developed, the model that we present to clients when we do this keynote, that I think are perfectly viable approaches. And there really what we talk about is focusing on getting the basics right, building watertight business models, and then adding digital layers to those watertight business models to deliver value to customers. So getting the basics right.
Okay.
If you expect technology to solve inherent business problems, you've got a problem. In fact, I would argue that technology becomes an amplifier for endemic business issues.
Sure.
If you already have dysfunction in your organization, you put a website on it, it doesn't fix it, it makes it worse, right? For leaders that have a longer view of value creation, there's another 2 different approaches, and we call that self-disruption or digital transformation in the matrix. And there it's really about evaluating your core values as an organization. What are the motives that really drive your decision making? And how reconcilable are those with the values that you state, that you put on your website, or that you mount on perspex and put in the entrance hall of your headquarters, right? Really reconciling what you say with what you do. But I think that, those are some of the directives that we're asking leaders to embrace. Ultimately, we're asking leaders to take a long view on value creation, to think about how to build organizations that are resilient in the future, not because that's the right thing to do, but because the world around us is demonstrating quite viscerally what happens when short-termism and selfishness overcome our long-term priorities and our value creation priorities. So I get excited about leaders who are planting trees, the shade under which they might never sit, to quote that old adage. Those are the types of leaders that I think will take us forward, not just digitally, but economically and socially as well.
Mike, as always, I love our conversations. Thank you for doing this. Let's do it again soon. And I wish you well. We look forward to working with you from your flower-covered wall space.
Thank you very much. My delicious monster, I believe it's called. Yeah, that sits in the back of the room.
I think you might be right. Great to see you. Thanks, Mike.
Good to see you too. Thanks, Stu.